Hey guys, Scott back again with a new beer dissection video. What I have today, another one from Moriches Brewing Company called Festive Trickster. Okay, at 6% alcohol. I live in St. Moriches. This is the closest brewery I've ever lived nearby. They're roughly a half a mile away. I've done many I should say many. I actually thought that I'd be doing a lot more videos from them. I just can't get over there, pick up the crowlers, which are 32 ounces. I have to send someone out for it. So a buddy of mine was out here for the weekend. He picked up about 6-7 crowlers. We drunk a few. I'm probably not going to do videos on all of them. We had a few over the last few days that were all very good. I just reviewed one. I won't tell you which beer it was. I recorded it at the timing of this video. I recorded just before this one. So they're very local here. I highly recommend them, regardless of what I think of this beer. Rich Flynn, the owner over there, amongst his wife, runs a lot of stuff that goes on over there, and his assistant brewers and everything. Though I don't get out over there as much as I should be able to get over there, or I'd like to get over there, they're bored, and I may try to have it pop over my shoulder. If not, on my earlier videos of some beers that I've reviewed from them, I've had it pop over. They usually produce, I want to say there's 12 beers on their board, and what I love about it, being a home brewer myself, is that, every beer is probably in itself its own entity. It's not like there's 12 New England IPAs or IPAs in general. There's stouts and porters and Dunkelweisens and Belgian doubles and triples and everything. So I speak to you as just a beer geek and a home brewer, or at least a former home brewer, and someone that studies beer and everything like that. So I would always definitely check them out, regardless of what I think of this beer today. But they are pretty local, like West Hampton Beach Brewing Company. I hold these two breweries a little bit closer to my heart because I know the owners live either in our town or very close to our town, or I of course has a business right here in our town. So other than that, what I have here is like I said, the Festive Trickster. Now I was tricked. Okay, so when my buddy brought 6-7 crowlers home the other day, and I sent them out to with my little Moriches coupon card, I said, there's not enough money on this thing, but I'm like, pick up a bunch of crowlers. And again, these are 32 ounces. And so he basically came back with the 6 or 7 of them. And when I saw the Festive Trickster, I thought it was the Belgian triple one that they make. And Rich, if you're watching this, you can chime in. Which one is they make a very good clone of a Belgian triple style. I thought it was the Festive Trickster. This one is actually a German Festbier clone. They advertise on their board as German Festbier. Now I've done, I think, a what is style on Oktoberfest. I could be mistaken. The Oktoberfest traditional, which is actually a Märzen, that's how you pronounce it, Marzen, which is the little darker style. Sam Adams is a classic one, is a darker style. Festbier actually became more popular around the early 1990s, I believe it was. A little lower actually same alcoholic strength, but a little less body, a little lighter in color in Germany. And the Festbier is actually served more prevalently at Oktoberfest. And if I didn't do a specific thing about Oktoberfest beer, I may have spoken. I know I have a video out there, so it's either on the What Is or Beer Dissection or General Beer Talks. I talk about the history of it and the different breweries that are only allowed to brew traditional Oktoberfest in Germany. So again, this Festive Trickster, is an actual Oktoberfest beer, or a Festbier in general. And I'm presuming they're trying to clone a very similar one. And if you don't agree with me, in a few months here, at least in the United States, you'll start seeing the Sam Adams Oktoberfest beer, or actually I shouldn't say that, the Oktoberfest beer. It'll look darker, like an amber, maybe even copper color. But if you grab an authentic, Spaten Augustiner, Lowenbrau, Hofbrauhaus, and you look at the Festbier there, you'll notice it's very pale and gold versus kind of like an amber copper color. And that's the difference really between the Festbier and the traditional Oktoberfest or the Märzen. And again, I'm giving you a quick explanation today so I don't go down a strange wormhole and make this video like 50 minutes. But I do have a video out there, or if there is interest, I will do a whole history of Oktoberfest beer and everything down those lines. But sometimes there's interest, sometimes there's not interest. But it seems like they're trying in this beer, which I've seen on their board before, make a Festbier, German style. So it would be the lighter color of those Oktoberfest beers that you see around the fall. Okay, so without further ado, even though probably more than I wanted to explain about Oktoberfest beer, Märzen, and or Festbier, this is the Festive Trickster at 6% alcohol. Again, I'm presuming if their board is correct, which is no reason to believe it's not correct, it is a German Festbier. So I'm expecting a little bit of a lighter color. You know, one thing is kind of interesting. You notice the hello, my name is. I remember talking to Rich, and if you're watching this, Rich, that they just kind of kept this. So some people I've said mentioned to me, like, why don't they have the fancy cans and labels and everything? This kind of was their originator thing, like throw the label on there, hello, my name is this, and it just stuck. And that's, I guess, their claim to fame these days. So yeah, they could have a snazzier looking can, but you know what? This is, you know, it works for them, and I have no problem with it at all. So again, they're here in Center Moriches. So without further ado, let's crack this bad boy open and take a look at this. 6% Festive Trickster, again, along the lines of a German Festbier. If you want to know more about it, look for those videos or message me, and maybe it will inspire me to create and it's going to be coming up in here in a few months. I'm filming this here in July of 23. You know, before you know it, Oktoberfest beers are going to be out, and you know, they'll be out and about. So, anyway, so let's crack this bad boy open. Again, they're here in Center Moriches, literally a half mile from my house. If I did a straight line from my house to the brewery, it's a half a mile. If I drove around, maybe close to a mile. Highly recommend them, regardless of the beer. I usually say about them is they have so many different styles that if you don't like their beer, you get you're unhappy with it. Chances are the beer is brewed perfectly. You just may not like the style of beer. That's what I always say, because you know nowadays our taste buds have been so biased towards juicy, hazy IPAs that taste like orange juice or whatever. You walk into Moriches Field and they've got, again, all those styles I said before. You know, you're not going to have 10 IPAs on the board. So if you're looking for that, maybe they're not for you. But I really think you broaden your horizons a little bit and check them out if you haven't already. They are very popular. They got a nice little setup over there. But again, this is not an infomercial for them, even though I sometimes go down these tangents because this is my YouTube channel, so I can talk about what I want to talk about. And again, them, West Hampton Beach Brewing Company, for those reasons I stated earlier, or maybe in another video, they either live here or their businesses are here, and I just appreciate what they're doing in the beer industry. All right, so let me pour this. Hopefully not to pour it on my table. Sometimes in the crowlers, especially when they fill them up, they spill out a little bit. So let me just move that over somewhat. So again, we're thinking here Oktoberfest beer. We're thinking of the lighter version of the Oktoberfest beer that you see served at Oktoberfest in Munich, Germany. Okay, that's what we're looking for. All right. Remember, I've mentioned I've done a whole video on the Beer Judge Certification Program. It's a free download. You can learn about the classic written styles of these beers. Brewers are not obligated to abide by them like Germany, so they have some fluctuation. So we're not looking and be that, I always say, that quote-unquote tool to say, you're within the guidelines. But you know, usually the guidelines, at least with the Festbier versus the Oktoberfest beer, or the Oktoberfest beer, which was technically Märzen, and is usually darker. So that's what we're hoping to be somewhere in that range here with this beer. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I poured it out a few seconds ago, so I only got about a half inch of foam. That's more my pour than the beer itself. I'm in actually a Moriches Field tulip glass. Unfortunately, I broke one like a lot of my delicate glasses with these nice tips usually do when they sit in the drying rack, at least in my house. So, you have a nice, white to light tan head. The color of the beer, we're kind of in that medium gold, okay, maybe dark gold color. Some chill hazy or no big deal. But looks pretty nice. I mean, maybe slightly darker than a typical Festbier, but definitely probably somewhere between that Märzen and the Festbier color. The Festbier color, typically it looks a little bit like, if you ever see Spaten beer that's in their Munich Helles, very, pale, it's like straw to kind of gold color. And Märzen, again, like I said, is kind of like an amber to maybe copper color. So this is kind of sitting somewhere in between the two, which is fine for me, okay? So let's take a sniff of the aroma. Okay, so I'm getting that earthy, kind of floral, spicy, slight spice character, like you're dealing with German noble hops. Now, I don't know, even though they're only half a mile away, I don't know the grist and the hop, charges that they're putting into the beer. But, usually you want that, exactly what I just said, that floral, earthy, peppery maybe. Some people describe it as minty, like a floral, perfumey type of hops, which a lot of those German noble hops will do, like Hallertau Mittelfrüh, Tettning, Spalt. Those types of hops will do that to you. You do not want pineapple, mango, grapefruit, orange juice in this type of beer, okay? And I'm not getting that, thankfully. You get that kind of that earthy, herbal, maybe a little pepper on there, but definitely maybe a little spice on there. The malt is kind of toast, kind of a medium toast color. And, if you want to err on the side of being lighter, usually it's a little bit lighter, like more bready, or a light toast, but we're right in that range there with this one. I remember the IBU units, I think on this one's 20, I'm a little rusty on that number. I think it's 16 to 22. I could be off on the IBU units on there, but again, it's been a while that I studied for the Cicerone written test. Very nice though. The aroma of the hops are very close to the style of it. But again, if you want a fruit bomb, stay away from Oktoberfest beer. Not necessarily this beer, but that's just not what you're going to be looking for. This is going to be sitting more in that herbal, floral, perfumey, peppery, maybe minty, maybe Saaz hops will be like that. But very good, very pleasant aroma. And very close to style, if not true to style. Okay, guys, so let's take a swig of this. Cheers. Kind of medium carbonation, light to medium bodied. Same thing, I kind of get that bready light toast malt character. Maybe some bread, maybe a little bit of bread crust or cracker, like Ritz cracker like on the malt. Usually want to be pretty sweet. Definitely without a doubt, even on the aroma you get, the flavor, that herbal floral character of German noble hops, which is what you want. Again, you can't drink every beer thinking it's going to taste like grapefruit juice or orange juice. This one, has that Pilsner two-row malt backbone, but you get that herbal, floral kind of hop character on the taste as well as the aroma. There's no alcoholic warmth, which you wouldn't expect, again, at 6% alcohol. The aftertaste, you're left lingering with that. We do it again. I get left lingering with two things. One, the bread crust of the malt and that herbal component of the hops is really what I'm getting. I don't know what hops Rich and his brewers use, but that's kind of what you're getting. I think I've had this. This is not the first time they've made it, the Festive Trickster. I think this is an ongoing thing. I definitely haven't had this beer since I started my channel and started actually scrutinizing beer and looking at beer a little bit deeper. You know, it's very refreshing. Like I said, I've already mentioned the body. It's kind of medium bodied. If I was going to be critical of one thing about this beer, you know, if you were going to compare it to, if you wanted to make a clone of like Spaten, Hofbrauhaus, Hockershore, Lowenbrau, Augustiner, Polaner, those are the ones for Oktoberfest. This has more body to it. It has a little bit more malt and hop flavor to it, which in a way is definitely a compliment because it has a little more oomph to it and a little more flavor than those beers. And those are classic style German beers. But because of that, those drink a little bit more crisper, a little bit more lower bodied. And that's kind of sometimes what they're looking for in Germany. You know, that's one reason why they came out with the Festbier versus the Märzen. Again, roughly, I think it was either around I think it was the early 1900s or maybe even 2000. I got to check the date on that again. I'm a little rusty on that. So that would be my only criticism if they're looking to brew that. But again, most brewers, especially your local farm and microbreweries, they want to do their own thing. They're not obligated to any particular beer. Those are a little bit more drier. This has a little bit more residual sweetness to it. But it actually has more malt profile to it and herbal component to it from the hops, which I find very pleasant, very good. But if someone was like, oh, I just had I was just over at Oktoberfest. This has a little more residual sweetness too. I think it's not as attenuated as those beers, meaning the yeast didn't eat all the sugars out. There's a little bit more residual sweetness. Okay. With that said, okay, is that this is an excellent beer. This is like I said, some people will interpret it like, oh, it's not like the originals over in Germany, that it's a knock to it. It's just, it actually has more, hop aroma, flavor, malt backbone even to it than those beers, a little more body to it. So many people would actually enjoy that, which I do myself. So what I would say with this, guys, this Festive Trickster from Moriches Brewing Company, and again, I don't, work for any of these breweries, right? I just try to say it like it is. Overall drinkability, enjoyability of this beer, it's an A. I mean, it's really good. I mean, like I said, they don't brew bad beer over there. It's spot on. I mean, it's like, if someone wanted to argue with me, say, it's an A-A. The people that wouldn't like this beer are those who don't like hops, like German noble hops. That they were turned off back in the 80s when they went to high school and college, and they some of those hops are very similar, herbal, floral, spicy, earthy, maybe woodsy type of hops. They drink a Festbier. Some of the hop character is similar. They may not like this because they're so used to eating these fruit bombs from other breweries. But I got to say, this is very close. I mean, maybe they threw some champagne yeast in there with the yeast and they kind of got a little more attenuation, or maybe they lagered it. That's the other thing too. These guys got to produce beer and make money. They can't close down. They can't have beers hogging up their fermenters for so long. So, they can't have them like lagering for weeks and months at a time. They got to kind of get the beers in, get them out, and sell them to you. Grade-wise for this beer, listen, I got to be in that A range. I mean, there's no doubt. And like I said, I have a lot of respect for them, not because they're half a mile away, because I've had many of their beers. They're all brewed very well. I could split hairs and scrutinize this and that. If I was going to compare them to the the big seven of Germany outside of Munich producing Festbier. I got to bring it down a little bit. Maybe A minus, B plus. B plus, A minus in that range. Okay, like the 85 to 92 range instead of the 95 range. But that's not a knock to the beer at all. This is really good. I mean, it's crisp, refreshing. It actually drinks lighter than the 6%, and with 6% is a little higher. Well, actually, no. I think it's up to 6.2. So they're sitting right with the style guidelines. So there's no knock there either. Overall, like I said, enjoyability, definitely A. If you want to scrutinize it and you're going to drink this side by side with one of the big seven from Munich, yeah, you would bring it down a little bit. But that's hard to. That's like comparing, your local minor league team to the Yankees, Mets, or whatever. It's tough. It's apples to oranges. I would highly recommend this beer. I would drink this beer with pork dishes, typical German fare, even bratwursts, pork, veal. But it's so refreshing that you could probably drink it with anything. So anyway, guys, Moriches Brewing Company, Festive Trickster, a take on the German Festbier. If you want a nice balanced, German noble hop beer, maybe you're even like a Budweiser drinker or you're a Miller Lite drinker and you're looking to get into craft beer, this is a phenomenal beer to transition into because the malt's fresh, the hops are fresh, it's brewed very well. You can't really go wrong with it at all. But like I said, though, if you're this fruit juice New England IPA guy, you may not like it, but that's not their problem, right? So again, I would recommend it. Okay, this is really good. I've had other videos I've done around the filming of this. I did one other video. It may not be published yet, depending on when you're watching this. Moriches Pub and Brewing Company they make some great beer. I would definitely check them out if you haven't been out here in Center Moriches. As well, we have some other good local West Hampton Beach Brewing Company beers. They have great beers too. So other than that, guys, until the next beer dissection video, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.